Today we're going to do some lab work using what is called the box method. Now the standard form for the quadratic expression is ax squared plus bx plus c. Now this would be a trinomial and it's to the second degree, so it's quadratic. And we get these often by multiplying two binomials. But we want to today feature the box method. Now we also have what is called the FOIL, which we have been reviewing. But this is just another method of multiplying binomials. So the protocol would be to make a box, divide it into 4 parts, and then along one side put the factors or the parts of the binomial 2x plus 3, and then along the other side the 3x plus 4. So now we're going to multiply and filling in these boxes. So we go 2x times 3x is 6x squared. Then we go 3 times 3x is 9x. And as long as they're positive, we don't write the plus sign. And then we go 2x times 4 is 8x. And then 3 times 4 is 12. Now notice that these two here are like terms. So in grouping like terms together, we then collect things and get 6x squared plus 17x plus 12. So again, using the box method, we end up with a trinomial in the form of ax squared plus bx plus c. Now, we can also use the box method to factor, and that will be our next example that we want you to include in your flipped classroom lecture booklet. So now we have a trinomial that we'd like you to write down and make another box. Now what we're going to do is use now the box method to factor this trinomial. This is where we're going in our next few lessons. So the protocol would be to write this first term here, write this last term here, and then we want to figure out what do we put in these two boxes. Well, we're going to take our A term, which is a 2, and our C term, which is a 3, and multiply it together. So A times C will be 6. Now we want to consider what are the factors of 6. Well, this is sort of easy. There's a 1 times 6. These would be factors of 6. And there would be a 2 times 3. Now, we want to add these factors up and see which one will give us our B term here, which is a 7. Well, it's quite obvious that it's this one, that if we added those together, we'd get a 7. And by the way, if we added these together, we'd get a 5. If this were a 5, then that might be a alternative, but it's a 7. So we're going to put a 1 there and put the 6 here. So now these would add up to a 7. And keep in mind this is an x here and an x there. Now, what do we do? Well, we now look at this and say, what can I factor out horizontally from this row? Well, you could factor out an x. What could I factor out from this row horizontally? Factor out a 3, and this is plus. Now, vertically, what can you factor out? Well, you could factor out a 2x. And from this row, what could you factor out? Well, just a 1. And this would be a plus. Now, notice if you did what we did earlier, multiply this times this, you get that. And this times this, you get that. And this times this, and this times this. So in a sense now you've captured the factors, which now become x plus 3 and 2x plus 1. And we did this using the box method. Now we'll do one more. So take a moment to set up. Again, this is our trinomial. You make a box. And the protocol would be to take this first item and put it here. And this last item here. Now we have to be careful of the signs. Now we're looking to find out what our B item would be that we would put here. And the protocol would be to multiply the A term by the C term. And this gives us a 90 and a negative 90. So we'll concern ourselves with the signs here shortly. What we want to do is figure out factors now of 90. Well, 1 times 90, that's not going to do anything. 2 times 45, that's not going to be a 13. Let's see, 3 times 30, no. Now how about 5 times 18? 5 times 18, the difference is 13. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to put the 18 there and the 5 there. Now, we need a negative 13. So our 18 would need to be negative and the 5, in a sense, positive. We don't write the positives. Now we're going to do what we did before, and I'll even change colors here. What can we factor out horizontally here? And remember, there's an x that I didn't write. And this would be 3x. You can factor out this way. Now, what can I factor out this way? A 5. Okay, now what can I factor out this way? I could factor out an x. And what can I factor out this way? Now a negative I had to think about that for a moment. That would be a 6. And you would go here 3 times what would give you the 18. All right, now that you've done that, again, keeping in mind this would be positive, you have your factors. This would be 3x plus 5 from along this side. And here we have x minus 6. And if you FOIL this, you get your trinomial. So this is just another way adding to your toolkit of how to factor using the box method. We'll wrap it up.